Assalamu alaikum students. I am Mubashir Ali Khan, your instructor with the course title Comedy of Manners, and our course code is ENGL 3124. And today we are going to start our next play, our next comedy of manners, The School for Scandal, that has been written by Richard Brinsley Sheridan. And students, when we talk about literature, we define literature as a reflection of society. And in this way, in this concern, the essential duty of a writer is not only to reflect the social aspects, but also to show, to reveal those hidden aspects which are not found by a common man or by those who are supposed to be the part of that society. So in this concern, Sheridan has revealed hypocrisies, plotting of different schemes, and gossiping, and we can say the different uh, women activities of an upper class society, being a true representative of his age. Now here is the list of contents which we are going to discuss in our present lecture. First of all, I'm going to tell you about the major key facts related to this play, and then we will be discussing about what the restoration comedy is, that what is the connection between restoration comedy and comedy of manners. Is there any difference between these two? And then we will discuss about the characteristics of comedy of manners, that what are the basic traits and what are the basic characteristics of a comedy of manners, on the behalf of which characteristics a comedy is supposed to be a comedy of manners. Then the School for Scandal, introduction of the play, we will be discussing, and then we will discuss the act 1 of this play, and we will have the two scenes in act 1, but in this lecture we are going to we are going to analyze, and we are going to explain the scene 1 of the play. Then analysis will be discussed. Then the School of Scandal, overview of the play relevant to our lecture will be discussed, and then we will have the references list. So we have the key facts about this comedy, The School for Scandal. And The School for Scandal is a comedy of manners. So when we talk about the literary genre of this play, this comedy, we say that this is a comedy of manners. So literary genre is comedy of manners, that has been written by Richard Brinsley and Sheridan. And it was first performed in London at the Eland Theatre on 8 May 1777. And when we define comedy of manners, we say that the comedy of manners is also called anti-sentimental comedy. It is a form of comedy that satirizes the manners and affectations of contemporary society, and not only satirizes uh, the social codes of contemporary society, but also at the same time questions uh, social standards, uh, social codes of life, and a comedy of manners often sacrifices this law, which normally centers on some scandal activity based on some sort of scandal or a witty dialogue and sharp social or active social commentary. And when we say that a comedy of manners often sacrifices the plot, we mean to say that plot, what the significance of plot is in a comedy of manners, and the definition of plot, we define it as the arrangement of different arrangement of sequence of different incidents, events, or happenings in a play that is supposed to be called plot of that play. But In a comedy of manners, the most important thing is about the active and sharp social commentary, and to show the police of a society in a way uh, that we basically the writer is going to reveal in front of the readers that how a society can be changed, can be transformed by showing the deficiencies, weaknesses, social and the moral shortcomings existing in their specific society. And if we talk about the key thing that has been discussed by Sheridan in this play, uh, it can be right to say that a school for scandal is gossiping between women. This concept represents the core of the play and also questions why people, and specifically women in particular, require gossip in their daily lives. So we have the major subject for the discussion, that why do women need gossip in their daily life, and we will have a clear example of this in Act 1, Scene 1, when Mrs. Candor converses with Maria. Now we are going to talk about that is there any difference between a restoration comedy or comedy of manners. So when we see, we say that the restoration comedy is called comedy of manners as well, because it as it presented the superficial habits and manners of only a section of society, only a specific section of society with which the writer is chiefly concerned. The elegant aristocracy, with their vices, introduce an outward glamour of polished behavior. So we can say that the manners displayed in a comedy of manners or in a restoration comedy basically were the affections and the cultured, we can say, veneer of a particular society. So restoration comedy in English, in the domain of English literature, written and performed in the restoration period, uh, from 1660 to 1710, that start from 1660 and ended till 1710. So comedy of manners is used as a synonym of restoration comedy. So we can say that there is no difference between a restoration comedy and a comedy of manners. The restoration. Before to proceed towards the explanation or definition of the comedy of manners or the restoration comedy, we need to know about the restoration period in the domain of English literature. The restoration period of English literature roughly uh, lasts from 1660 to 1688. It begins with Charles II returning to the throne following the rule of various Republican governments, which ruled England for 1649 to 1659 after Charles I, Charles I was executed. So restoration, uh, we can say restoration uh, was the restoration of monarchy in England in 1660. It marks the return of Charles II with the execution of Charles I. It not only does mark the return of Charles II as a king, but following the period of Oliver Cromwell's Commonwealth strategies and philosophies, and the bishops were restored to Parliament, which established a strict uh, Anglican orthodoxy. Now we are going to talk about the major characteristics of a comedy of manners. So, a comedy of manners is known for its wit, humor, and its style on the society. Its predominant tone was witty, bardy, cynical, and amorous. Clarence Brooks, in this concern, says in his understanding trauma, says thus: the restoration comedy is an accurate mirror of 17th century society and is intensely realistic in all its domains. So far as the characteristics are concerned, it elaborates hypocrisy of contemporary society, dual face and self-centeredness of the hypocritical society. Then element of cross-dressing, usually women in men's clothing, physical seduction. The characters, different characters, try to seduce other in order to get the set of. Then the extramarital affairs, cynicism, pessimism, skepticism, distrust. All these things have been discussed by the writers and the writer like Sheridan. Cynicism or pessimism or skepticism, these are about the uncertainty of life, about the hopelessness and the gloomy aspects of the life. And these elements are also found in such comedies. The meeting of aristocracy and common folk, scheming such as forgeries and spying. So these are the major few characteristics of a comedy of manners, and we are going to start uh, discussing all these statistics. We will be countering these facts in our discussion regarding Act 1 and Scene 1. Now we have a brief introduction of the play The School for Scandal, and written by the Irish playwright Richard Brinsley Sheridan. The play became triumphant almost immediately and is a perfect example of restoration literature. So it is considered that Sheridan has revealed a true face of restoration literature, that what sort of literature had been published right at that moment. The play, in fact, the subject play presents comic situation and abounds in sexual references instead of portraying a pure society, a society which is based on ethical and the moral grounds, which is based on moral values, justice, and we can say sacrificing aspects like the Puritan literature. As we see in the Puritan literature, all these characteristics have been found in Puritan literature, but in this play, the writer presents corrupt people, hypocrite people, and those who are self-centered and selfish, who only they have the one objective in their mind: how to gossip, how to manipulate the propaganda of lie about the other. So we can say that this is a play totally opposite to the Puritan literature. The play presents corrupt people, hypocrite people who like to gossip and who only look out for themselves. So self-centeredness, we can say, is the chief characteristic of. And so far as Machiavellianism is concerned, we can say about the term that Machiavellianism is also uh, found in this play, because all the characters, they are only concerned with themselves. The title of the play is suggestive, as it foreshadows the general direction that the plot will take, as well as its major theme is concerned. The whole play is satirical. We see that the writer has satirized the vices and the shortcomings and the moral weaknesses of the society, of the British society, and the society especially of 18th century, and of lengths one is willing to go in order to get what one in fact wants to get. Some of the characters names point to their major flaws, their shortcomings, their weaknesses, moral and ethical weaknesses, thereby giving us a direct description of them. So their names, in fact, tell us about their description of the character. So this is supposed to be the best characterization in a comical way that has been created by Sheridan. The play has been adapted to film for many times, and it was first produced as a British film in 1923. That marks its significance and its position in the modern society. And now we are going to explain and we are going to analyze critically the Act 1 of the play, and we have two different scenes in this act, scene 1 and scene 2. Right at the moment, we will be talking about scene 1, and as the play opens, we see that Lady Snareswell, a wealthy young widow, and her hireling Snag discuss her various scandals representing plot, scheming about the other people, and thinking about manipulating the fake things regarding those people who are connected with them in any sort of relationship. And Lady Snareswell is a stock character or stereotype. She is both individualized and influential enough to justify her position in the play. Her position as a major character in the play. Her dialogue with Snake in Act 1, Scene 1, for an example, reveals Lady Snareswell as both all too human, with her motive of revenge, and a refined practitioner to the art of gossip. She's quite pretty and beautiful and wide taste, but a taste for mischief and revenge for an old scandalous injury to her reputation caused Lady Snareswell to plant scandalous stories in newspapers and magazines. And Snap asks why she is so involved in the affair of Sir Peter Tizzle, his ward Maria, and Charles and Joseph's surface, uh, two young men under Sir Peter's informal guardianship, and why she has not yielded to the attentions of Joseph, who is highly respectable. Lady Snareswell confides that Joseph wants Maria, who is an heiress, and that Maria wants Charles. So it's all about scheming and plotting about the character, about the different characters in the very outset of the play, and thus she and Joseph, in fact Maria and Joseph, are plotting to alienate Maria from Charles by putting out rumors of an affair between Charles and Sir Peter's new young wife, Lady Tizzle. And Joseph arrives to confer with Lady Snareswell, uh, and Maria herself then enters, feeling the attention of Sir Benjamin Backbite and his uncle Crabtree. Mrs. Candour enters at the same time and ironically talks about how tale bearers are as bad as the tale makers. Soon after that, Sir Benjamin and Crabtree also enter, bringing a good deal of gossip with them. One one item is the imminent return of the Surface brothers' rich uncle Sir Oliver from the fast from the fast Indies, where he has been for 16 years. 16 years he had been over there. Another is Charles' dire financial situation. So we are going to discuss these things in Act 1, Scene 1. So in a nutshell, we can say that School for Scandal is a play by Richard Sheridan, in fact, in which So Oliver attempts to gather information about his nephew so that he can decide which one to leave his fortune to. In fact, it is all about we can say the affairs related to will and fortune, and he's not able to decide that about one of his nephews, that who is going to get his fortune. So Sir Oliver must decide which of his nephews, Joseph or Charles, will inherit his fortune. Now we are going to analyze critically the Act 1 as Scene 1 of this play, beginning with the prologue. In fact, was fairly commonplace at the time of Sheridan's writing. It was a common literary style that usually an art of literature, a piece of literature starts with a prologue, and these prologues are used to directly address the audience. But the single objective was that in fact writer wants to communicate the things in front of the audience in a direct manner, in a direct way, and sets up some of the major themes or issues related to the society through that play, through a piece of literature. Sometimes these prologues were not even written by the playwright, much like the different critiques and experts, literary experts, and like the foreword of a book in this play, the School for Scandal. The audience first sees a portrait written by the playwright Richard Brinsley Sheridan, followed by a prologue written by a man whose name is Mr. Garrick. So it was not essential that that the prologue has been only written by the writer, but by any other man who had a profound sense of understanding the things that has been depicted in that relevant work of literature. From the beginning of the play, proper characters' names are important for understanding characters' personalities. In fact, names tell us about their physical traits, their physical characteristics, and their personality traits as well. And Sheridan's scene of humor and irony. Also, we see in the same act and in scene 1. And in the first scene, Lady Snirwell talks to Snape openly about their scheming, about their plot to spread a nasty false rumor about Charles Surface. And Lady Snirwell's personal reason for enjoying creating scandal and gossiping about the others, it was just quite, we can say, a hobby for her to manipulate the fake news, fake things about the different characters related to her and those who are in her premises. Lady Sneerwell's name combines her social status, lady, with her major character trait of judging others sneer well. Snack's name is slightly more metaphorical, evoking ideas of snakiness. The snakiness is why Lady Sneerwell chooses him to do her bidding. Ironically, we can say that it is also the character trait that allows Snape to reveal Lady Sneerwell's plot in the end. Hence, the Charles Surface, who is the young landman about town, the younger brother of Joseph Surface and nephew of Sir Oliver, is the subject for scheming and plotting for Lady Sneerwell in scene 1. So while analyzing the scene 1, we see that the forwardness and honesty of Lady Sneerwell with Snag might be surprising and astonishing in a comedy of manners. And the opening dialogue between Lady Sneerwell and Snag is is carefully crafted in its Olean diction and tone. For example, the plant item in the gossip column, and when Lady Sneerwell directly says, wounded myself in the early part of my life by the envenom tongue of slander. And she says then that I confess I have since known no play is equal to the reducing others to the level of my own injured reputation. So far as the pacifism is concerned, so far as self-satisfaction is concerned, she is much sensible, and she acknowledges that she is going to be called an honest person in her duty. And however, this honesty and self-awareness in the first scene allows the audience to contrast her manner in private with her behavior in the public sphere, because she in fact lives a dual life in the premises of her private circle, and in the public localities, she seems to be quite different, where she constantly throws attention on others rather than drawing it to her own situation. So, Act 1, Scene 1 introduces many of the important factors and the relationship of the play. When Maria is introduced, we see that there is immediate contrast between her own manner and beliefs and those of the rest of the characters in the play. In Maria's second line of the play, she explains why she fled from conversation with Benjamin Buckbite, saying this conversation is factual, uh, libel on all his acquaintance, meaning that he, like Lady Sneerwell, is a gossip and talking about the fake things related to the other people. So, throughout the play, Maria is used as a symbol of innocence and purity because she has no concern regarding prevailing issues of hypocrisy and dual life. So, the love Joseph, Charles, and Benjamin all have for her puts the just either that society still sought morality in the midst of all scandal and gossip that most people partook in, or that women specifically were expected to be seen as moral as fair in that society. And the brief consideration of Lady Sneerwell's motives function as background or exposition for one of the play's major plot strands. In the second part of Sneerwell's conversation with Sinet, we see that Sheridan, uh, in fact, provides the audience with another facet of exposition, and Snake asks Sneerwell to explain her behavior towards the surface brothers, two young men who present quite contrast relationship. Whereas Joseph surfaces by word of decency and uprightness, his younger brother Charles is notorious for extravagance and for illicit things, illicit relationship with the other. Somewhat we can say that Lady Sneerwell explains her strategy and her understanding about the two brothers in scene 1. So far as the major issue in the Act 1 is concerned, the one of the major issue that has been explained by the writer in the Act 1 is the relation between gossip and wit. What the gossip is and what the wit is. What is the distinction between gossip and wit intellectually? So Maria suggests that she loses respect for wit when wit is used to hurt or spread gossip about others. So gossip is something different, and wit is something we can say with respect to its meanings, quite different from gossip. In her words, when she sees it in company with different strangers, with different cruel people, and she's not comfortable. However, Lady Sneerwell responds that the two concepts, mean gossip and wit, are inextricably linked together. Sheridan is perhaps challenging his audience, and especially viewers who are highly educated or writers themselves, to contemplate whether all wit must have a brab that makes it stick. If if nothing else, as a writer of satire, Sheridan certainly had to confront the relation between wit and meanness personally, with its spirited, ridiculous affectation and pretentiousness. It is one of the greatest comedy of manners in English, because uh, Sheridan is not going to only tell the readers about the gossip activities, and about, just not in a simple way of conversation, but in fact, he's going to give awareness to the readers that wit and gossip, both are interconnected. Now it depends on the character, and it depends on the audience, that in which sense they are going to understand the things manipulated by the writer. So uh, when we analyze the scene one, we say that disgusted with the group's malice, Maria departs abruptly. Uh, Crabtree and Backbite follow to pursue her, professing their sympathy with Joseph, and as they make their exit. As the scene concludes, we see that Lady Stilwell invites Joseph to stay for dinner, in order to have a sitting with him, so that whatever the intention she has in her mind, she in fact wants to discuss all the things with Joseph. No, because it is very much essential for a character like Lady Scanwell to always have a man, a woman, whom he will be able to conversate with. So subject for the conversation, subject for the discussion is more important, and sometimes we see that she creates the possibility of having a subject for discussion, to manipulate the lies, and to talk about the scandal issues of the different characters in the play. So Lady Snailwell sees herself as standing above the other gossips, who gossip for fun and to show off, rather than to manipulate his relationships in their own favor. She does not find it hard to hear about Charles' financial position, because she does not care about Charles' reputation, only about the effect that the scandal surrounding him will have on Maria's love for him. So, indeed, if Charles is financially declined and financially disturbed and abandoned by his uncle and Maria, he will need to marry a wealthy woman like Sneerwell in order to get established, uh, to earn a marked position in the society, conscious society, about the financial status. To avoid going to jail, he will need to marry a wealthy woman. The reference to sentiment here also shows how Joseph manages to impress and manipulate people by pretending he is a man of sentiment, acting on emotions based in lofty morals. Yet, the mere fact that he has to study sentiment shows that it is not sincere for him. And having explained this complex calculus, Lady Snellwell receives Joseph Surface, who promptly verifies his brother Charles' ever more desperate circumstances. Both Lady Snailwell and Joseph affect sympathy and pity. Joseph exposes his backstabbing nature by warning Lady Snailwell not to trust Snake. Snake has been often seen conferring with Rowley, a selfless family steward who has been no sport of Joseph's affair. So here is a comprehensive overview of the school for scandal. The critic and the experts like William Hazlitt called Sheridan's 1777 play the school for scandal, if not the most original, perhaps the most finished and faultless comedy which we have. Rumor and reputation play a large part in Sheridan's meticulously crafted play, with gossip being a weapon one can use against someone in order to achieve whatever is found inside the mind. Lady Snailwell is in love with young Charles Surface. He, however, is in love with Maria, as is his brother Joseph. While Charles is regarded as a man of loose morals whose lavish habits have led to financial ruin, Joseph is held to be more upright and responsible. The truth of their characters is, of course, and this complication is because of the misunderstanding among their relations and among their ways of thinking. Maria is also in love with Charles, so Lady Snailwell and Joseph plot to decline the relationship, to destroy the relationship by putting about rumors of Charles' unfaithfulness in order to uh, achieve their self-centered objectives. Their basic objective is the alienation, uh, because they are plotting to alienate Maria from Charles by putting out rumors of an affair between Charles and, in fact, Sir Peter's new young wife, Lady Tisel. So they think that after having a scandal with a married woman, uh, he will not be able to retain and to get back his position in the society and his uh, trustworthy relationship with the Maria. So that's why they are plotting against him. In the subplot of the scene one, we see that Sir Peter has taken a young wife, and they always used to talk about the financial matters and constantly about matter of money, driving the new Lady Tizzle to contemplate an affair with Charles' brother Joseph Surface. And the Surface brothers' rich uncle Oliver returns then to town from abroad, and he decides to know the realities of life. He decides to know about the real feelings and the sentiments of his relations. And he takes the decision to set the young man's moral worth, to know the moral values of the young man, and he disguises himself as a moneylender named Mr. Premium in order to ascertain how lavishly Charles is spending and how much debt he is in. Charles is prepared to sell of all his family portraits, but Oliver's anger is calm when Charles refuses to sell the painting of him. The plot is further complicated when Lady Tizzle visits Joseph Surface and first her husband, then Charles come to call. This leads to characters hiding in closets and behind screens. So Oliver then visits this time dressed as one of their poor relations seeking financial assistance. Joseph reveals himself to be close-fisted and his kindness superficial, and he will not do nothing to help. Sheridan brings the play to a close by having Sir Oliver reveals his plot and his findings to Charles and Joseph. It also becomes clear to everyone that Lady Sneerwell orchestrated the rumor about Charles and Lady Drizzle. Hence, we can say that Sheridan's School for Scandal is an 18th century example of comedy of manners in which uh, the artificial and superficiality of the upper classes are revealed. Its characters are, for the most part, types rather than deeply drawn characters, and their follies are revealed in front of the audience by the writer. And if we make a question that why does Lady Sneerwell spread rumors about others, so we will have the question, or so we will have the answer of this question. That to break up Charles and Maria, Lady Sneerwell and Joseph, with the help of snakes, they're spreading rumors that Charles is having an affair with Lady Drizzle, the young wife of Sir Peter. She tells Maria that she was sorry to hear stories about trouble between her and Charles, and between Sir Peter and Lady Drizzle. So her objective basically is that to destroy the relationship between uh, uh, Maria and uh, Maria and Charles, so that to achieve her objective uh, of manipulating the fake identities and fake things related to the other characters. So it will be right to say that instead of portraying a pure society like in the Puritan literature, the play presents corrupt people who like to gossip and who only look out for themselves. The title of the play is suggestive as it foreshadows the general direction that the plot will take, as well as its major theme.